All right, so today we're going to cover the concept of the fianchettoed bishop. It's one of the most important concepts to know to maximize the strength and power of your bishops and positions. So getting straight into it, g3 and bishop g2. So this is the fianchettoed bishop setup, and it's really common in a lot of chess openings because obviously you're developing your pieces and you're trying to decide where you want your bishop to go. It's a matter of taste, but we can always develop our bishops to e2, which is pretty passive, d3, which is pretty strong, and c4, which is pretty strong. But another main line is to get the bishop onto g2. And so what we'll do in today's video is just go over why this is such an important setup, how it works with a castled king, and then some openings that you can factor into it. So if we go into a bit more of a filled-in position, the fianchettoed setup works for both sides. So in this case, bishop g2, and then black plays bishop g7, and black essentially has the same idea to maximize the power of his bishop by putting it on this really strong long diagonal. And that's really the essence of why a fianchettoed setup is so important. In theory, because bishops are long-ranged pieces, you want to put them on the longest diagonal so that you maximize their scope. Like snipers, like if this is an army, these are your snipers. You want to give them some range. Likewise, not in this exact position, but you could also fianchetto your queenside bishops in the same way, and that's also considered fianchetto. And yeah, depending on the position, you might want to just play it so to maximize the strength of your bishops. So let's go over a few openings where the fianchetto features, just so you can get a bit of a sense of where you can play it. The first one of Magnus Carlsen's favorite openings, the Catalan. So if I go, I don't know, this is probably a bit of a Queen's Gambit type setup more than anything. G3. And suddenly we're putting our bishop on g2 already, and this is essentially a Catalan type Queen's Gambit. Another position is the English opening. So whether black plays e5 or c5, let's just go symmetrical c5 so you can see how common this is. So g3, g6, bishop g2, bishop g7. So this is a opening where black typically also fianchettos his bishop, and if you continue it, you might even look at fianchettoing your other bishops as well. And this, for both sides, can be quite tricky because you've got two snipers essentially staring off at each other, like the movie Enemy at the Gate, for both sides. But yeah, as long as you're careful not to open your bishop up and hang a bishop essentially from the other side, you're all good. And these two bishops, that bishop here controls these two squares, this one controls these two, obviously once the knights, or behind the knights, so they give you really good control of the center. Another really important opening to know with a fianchettoed setup is the Sicilian dragon variation. So just play it quickly. So this is a standard Sicilian, and if you really wanted to play it here, you go g6. This is one of the main lines with the idea to put your bishop on g7. Now, one thing that's really important here, I'll just play some normal type moves. Castle here. White's idea in this position, inevitably, is to play bishop h6 as soon as they can to trade off this bishop, because the biggest weakness about a fianchettoed setup, if I go back here, this setup in itself is quite solid and strong, but as soon as you trade that bishop, you can kind of see, since you've moved the pawn to g6, you've weakened the f6 and the h6 squares, and white's instantly pounced and put his queen there, and that queen cannot be opposed. Like if you play knight g4, it's just a matter of time before white kicks the knight with f3 and puts his queen there again, h4, h5, takes, and then the rook's also open and you're getting mated on that h-file. So whenever you're fianchettoing a bishop, black or as white, let's just say white castled here, one of the moves you'd be looking to do down the line is get your rook out of the way, so that when your opponent tries to oppose your fianchettoed bishop, you simply move it back. And you maintain that control of that diagonal without trading that bishop. Now, this bishop is doing nothing, whereas yours is still on that strong diagonal. One more, I'll just show you one more opening that's super important. So the Grunfeld Defense. The Grunfeld Defense is a counter-punching defense. It's sort of like a King's Indian setup, but instead of going d6, or instead of going bishop g7 to allow white the center, you essentially play d5 straight away, and after a few of these type of theoretical lines, bishop g7, and you're pretty much trying to follow up with a c5, and let's just say we continue. Once this happens, you can see that's attacking the square, that's taking the pawn. Black will play knight c6. This rook is looking really isolated and very much could be a target, and instantly here black has pressure on that white center pretty quickly. White can't play moves like d5 because his rook's hanging. So having that fianchettoed bishop in the Grunfeld really puts a lot of pressure on the white center. And that's really another thing about fianchettoed bishops. We can cover this in an advanced video, but one of the things they do is they really put pressure on an opponent's, not only just the diagonal, but on the opponent's center. So if they've got a pawn center, you can really apply a lot of pressure. There's nowhere else you'd put the bishop to apply pressure. You can't have your bishop on d6 or c5 or anything like that. Fianchettoing it means wherever or whenever your opponent has a pawn center, your bishop is still powerful. It's just like a sniper sitting here waiting to pounce. So that's just the basics of the fianchettoed bishop setup and concept. I hope you liked the video. I might make an advanced one down the line for those who want to learn the more intricacies, the more intricate dynamics of fianchettoed positions. But for now, let's leave it at that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned something here. Catch you on the next one. Peace out.